Damon's voice drifts back to us, and I glance past him to get a glimpse of the way ahead. Half a dozen people block the way ahead, an assortment of rifles, blasters, and pistols pointed towards us. I suck in a breath, my nerves on edge. We stop abruptly, our empty hands held in front of us to show we have no intention of fighting. They keep their weapons raised, but motion for us to come closer. One of the guys steps forward to meet us, a rifle in his hands and a machete hanging from the belt around his waist.
What business do you have in Azure territory?
Damon shifts beside me, but before he has the chance to speak and no doubt piss them all off, I cut in. We have a message from Elisa, leader of Crimson Dusk. She wants to offer a truce in exchange for your help running the Chimera off Cursa. Riona steps forward, offering the comm to the one who had spoken. He doesn't take it straight away. Instead, he turns up his nose at it.
You're the messengers, huh? How do I know this isn't a trap? That thing could be a bomb.
It isn't a bomb.
That's what you'd say if it was a bomb.
How bold of you to doubt me.
The man sticks his nose in the air, giving Damon a once-over.
And you are?
Oh, you know who I am.
Damon steps up to the man, the smirk vanished from his face as his eyes turned colder than I'd ever seen them. To the man's merit, his only reaction is a shaky bob of his throat.
Get your sorry ass back there and tell Zane that Resner is here to see him on behalf of the Crimson Dusk. And that he's got more important shit to do than listen to a pathetic little shit like you.
The soldiers around us pale considerably when Damon calls himself Resner, a ripple of fear snaking through them.
Now.
Damon continues to stare him down. A ripple of impatience goes through me, and I'm sure the others are feeling it too. Look, we need to speak to your leader. It's important. The man looks us over, blinking himself back to his senses before he makes his decision.
All right, we'll take your throat, but your weapons stay here.
I don't think so.
Those are the rules, ma'am.
Oops. Now you're in trouble.
Riona looks as though she would happily wring the guy's neck, but eventually sighs and takes her tranquilizer from its holster, handing it over. I reluctantly hand over my knife. A woman steps towards Damon, and he grins at her before handing over his blaster and a sheathed blade. Only one of the several I know he carries. When she doesn't move, he shrugs.
Don't push it, sweetheart.
The woman resigns and steps back, looking away uncomfortably when Damon continues to stare at her.
Follow me.
We do as instructed, following the man as we're flanked on all sides by the other members. We don't have to go far, and I remember Elisa saying that they'd be expecting us. A man steps forward, taller than the others, and half bathed in darkness. From what I can see of his face, I note the crooked grin pulling at the corners of his mouth.
I see Elisa has some new mice doing her bidding these days. But you don't look like the usual rodents we get here in the slums.
The man pauses, a knowing glint creeping into his eyes as he looks Damon up and down.
Except for you.
That's funny, coming from one of the biggest rats around.
Damon and the man stare at each other for a moment longer, their eyes as sharp as daggers. It doesn't take long until they both break out into smirks and step forward to shake hands, their knuckles turning white with the effort to outdo the other. Or trying to crush the other's hand.
Been a while, Damon.
I've been busy.
Likewise.
Your eye healed up nicely.
So did your face. Seems she takes pleasure in leaving her mark on those of us lucky enough to end up in her bed.
I almost choke on my own breath, eyes widening on the man. Damon's face hardens, but the other man ignores it, giving Riona and I a nod in greeting.
The name's Zane. I hear you have something for me.
We do. A message from Elisa.
The Crimson Queen too busy to deliver a message to her old friend in person? I would have put on a pot of tea. Maybe break out the best china for the occasion.
He grins, slow and wide, and I have no doubt that his tea would be laced with an extra special something for the rival leader. Damon exhales slowly, his jaw tense and his sneer deadly. I've no doubt that if this mission wasn't so important, Zane would be dead at our feet by now. Riona tosses the memory device to Zane, who catches it easily and extends the screen. He hits a button on a small, black earpiece that's looped around one of his ears and syncs it to device, watching us as the message plays. A small hollow screen from the device flashes different images, though they're too small to make out from where I stand. After a minute or so, he takes in a deep breath, the grin wiped from his face.
A truce? I can't say I don't want those Chimeri bastards out of our way. But how can I trust Elisa to keep her word?
She wants the Chimeri gone. Maybe even more than you. Trust that.
Zane runs a thumb over his chin in thought. He doesn't look convinced.
Sounds like an awful big risk. One I'm not sure I want to take.
He waves a hand in the air, and the soldiers around him begin to move out. A sickening feeling makes its way into my gut as I realize we've failed. Wait! The word leaves my mouth before I even know what I'm doing, but Zane stops, glancing at me from over his shoulder.
I'd get off my turf before my hospitality runs out, if I were you.
Not until you agree to the truce.
I've already told you, I'm not taking that risk.
I let out a sigh, pulling my bottom lip between my teeth. He needs to see that there is no future for the people of Cursa without a truce. What about the people? What happens to them when the Chimeri take everything, including Crimson Dusk and Azure Dawn? They deserve better than what they have. So do you. Elisa knows that too. That's why she's the one stepping up. Zane fixes me with a dark stare, and I swallow hard, wondering if he's going to raise his blaster and shoot me straight in the head just to be done with us. Instead, he pushes a button on the side of the comm and holds it closer to his lips.
You've got a deal. Next time, don't send your former boy toy to fetch it. Unless he's up for sharing.
His eyes rake over Damon, and he winks, earning a deadly glare from the assassin. Zane's shoulders shake with silent laughter, his amusement poorly hidden. Riona catches the device as Zane tosses it back her way. Thank you. Zane inclines his head toward me, that strange smile slipping back into place once more.
Careful on your way back, little mouse. There have been more unfamiliar faces spotted in these parts than just yours. Azure will escort you as far as our territory permits. After that, you're on your own.
With one last wave of his hand, he disappears into the growing night, and a unit of his soldiers comes forward. They restore our weapons, and we follow behind them, heading back the way we came. Damon steps closer to me, with Riona flanking my other side.
Look at you stepping up, Nico. Good work.
You did good.
I smile at them each in turn, feeling proud that, for once, I could do something to help. That feeling quickly fades when the soldiers in front of us shout out, freezing me in place.
Intruders! Up ahead!
The Azure crew halts, stopping us in place. Damon takes a step forward, joining the front line with a terrifying grin curling his lips, calling out to what seemed like no one in particular.
It's cute that you think you can hide from me.
What's happening?
Positions.
The Azure soldiers shift and form a semicircle right as a dozen figures in black armor emerge from the shadows surrounding us. The darkness of their uniforms makes them hard to see against the backdrop of night, but there's one thing that does stand out. The glowing half-moon symbol on each of their arms.
Chimeri.
Riona whispers the word, and a chill runs down my spine.
Stay close to me, Nico.
Damon joins the Azure formation, while Riona unholsters her rifle from her back in one swift motion, her eyes hard and relentless.
Here I thought we'd be enjoying a nice stroll back to the bunker.
Tension ripples through the air as the Chimeri draw closer, and yet no one moves, waiting for the other to strike first. We don't have to wait long. One of the Azure soldiers fires at the Chimeri, and just like that, all hell breaks loose. Damon remains on the front line, a blaster in one hand and a knife in the other. He uses everything around him to his advantage, blending into shadows with such ease it terrifies me. His movements are graceful and fluid, adapting to whatever and whoever crosses paths with him. Riona hangs back with her rifle, her arms surprisingly precise. She aims at weak spots in the Chimera's armor, though there doesn't seem to be many. Soldiers drop like flies on both sides, and I step back, my chest tightening in panic as my head whips back and forth, not knowing what to do. I hold my knife firmly, so tighter my knuckles bleed white, and it's not going to be of any use against the guns firing in all directions. Both Damon and Riona work seamlessly with Azure, taking out the Chimera as quickly as they come. But for every Chimera that falls, it seems like two more pop up in their place. Soon Azure are pushed back further and further, forcing them to fight in close quarters and making the chances of them winning this fight seem slim. Riona and Damon back up, fighting a group of Chimera right in front of me. Damon's charge runs out, and he slams the blade of his dagger into a Chimera's neck with a sickening squelch. With her rifle becoming ineffective in such close quarters, Riona shoves the soldier back with the barrel before bringing the weapon down against the side of his face with a crack.
Gotta say, Doc, this is finally feeling like a trip home.
It disturbs me that you find the situation amusing.
Funny thing to say when you're having just as much fun.
Riona scoffs, firing at a woman who has an Azure Soldier pinned to the ground. Damon finishes her off with a thrown blade, lodging itself deep between the armor plates around her neck and spurting crimson blood. He turns to Riona with a wink.
Tell me you don't enjoy the moving targets.
How about we try to get through this in one piece, yes?
Damon sighs dramatically, but it's short-lived as another wave of Chimera push us back further still and overwhelms the Azure soldiers. Riona throws me a worried look, her eyebrows dipped in concern as she calls out over the fight surrounding us.
Nico, run! Get to the bunker!
I hesitate, watching the two of them struggling alongside the Azure soldiers to hold the Chimera back, the tide of the battle quickly turning ill. I can't leave them, I think, as I grab my knife tighter in my hand. I have to do something.
Go, now!
The second in command barks at me, an authoritative tone to his voice I've never heard before. With his blaster recharged, he shoots a Chimera at close range, blood spattering against his skin.
You make our job a whole lot fucking harder when we have to watch out for you on top of ourselves.
We'll catch up with you, Nico. Get yourself to safety.
They pull back to join the fight, and finally, I make a decision. I run.